Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Mikeadelic. I'm Mike Brancatelli, your you. Today is a solo cast. Hope you're all doing well out there. I am coming at you from snowy Denver, where it's snowed quite a bit over the last couple days. And Sunday was it felt like it was like 95 degrees, summer of love, people in the park roller skating, taking 300 mics of acid, getting naked, making out with each other. It was a beautiful day. Yeah. So we need more public orgies in this world. And I really think the world will be a better place if, we just allowed nudity and public sex and maybe defecation. We let dogs do it and we pick up after them. We could do it, pick up after ourselves. Well, good to be here with you all, or y'all, as I've been saying more and more. Because I could really, y'all isn't a distinctly Southern expression, but I think it gets categorized as that. Most people hear people say y'all, and if they imitate them, they'll say, like, y'all, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? But it doesn't have to be that way because it's actually the perfect way to address everyone. You all. It's actually one thing that I could get down with that makes sense. That makes total sense. I used to say you guys just for everyone, for everything. But I like things that make sense, and this makes sense. You just say y'all, and that just means you all. Perfect. We don't have to, that doesn't have to be any more than that. I think I had an old joke around something like that once. I kind of forget what it was. But, yeah. My friend Mookie Thompson, comedian based out of Brooklyn, past podcast guest as well, hit me up like a couple weeks ago. Like, dude, I'm freaking out, man. I'm watching Mark Norman's stand-up special on Netflix, and he's totally doing one of your old jokes. and I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, wow, that does look similar. I had a similar joke, and I have Mark's number, so I texted him, and I was like, hey, I'm coming for you with my team of high-priced lawyers. Just kidding, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of cool. As many of you know, I used to do stand-up comedy. I started off doing open mics. I quickly moved up to getting some check spots, which are notoriously known as like the worst spot. Nobody wants it, so they give it to the up-and-coming comedians. And it's the spot where they drop the checks off at the table. They give them the bills, and everybody freaks out because it's 4 times more than they thought it was. $16.95 for chicken tenders. So I'd be on stage trying to do my jokes that I've been practicing and writing and doing at open mic shows and bar shows. So that was pretty much my life for about 3 years, just doing shows in New York City, open mics, bar shows, check spots, couple other spots here and there that opened up when it was available. The best was filling in for people. So if you were like hanging out at a club and I don't know, someone couldn't make it or something got changed in the show or the show was going longer, people are staying, I don't know, something happened. Maybe once in a while someone would be like, hey, do you want to do 5? Do 5 minutes. But those were good times. I look back fondly at those times. And, after deciding to not pursue stand-up comedy anymore, I definitely still had like a lingering thirst to get back on the stage. I really enjoy the environment. I really enjoy the environment of holding court as you could tell with these podcasts. I'm doing something that's enjoyable for me, and then other people are also enjoying it as well. And it's a win-win. We're having a great time. You want to be entertained, and I want to entertain you. What's better than that? And so that was a fun time. And it was pretty funny to get that message from Mookie. He was pretty hilarious about it. We used to do shows together a lot. Now he goes on tour with the Lucas brothers a lot. Nimesh Patel opens for those guys, and I believe has a cartoon series out on Comedy Central, I think. But I was looking through my notes the other day. I had a lot of good premises for jokes. The thing was that I remember one of my struggles was that all my jokes were pretty basic setup punchline, pretty basic like surprise twist, comparison, observation, a lot of drug, sex jokes, a lot of jokes that like things that you would tell when you were like 27 years old. And so that was a fun time, and I was pretty flattered, honestly, that Mark Normand has a similar joke, because great minds think alike, as he said, and it feels good. And there's some like I definitely have some kind of like giddy, like secret, like joy about it. Like it kind of feels like, oh, cool, like a really funny comedian who's like friends with Joe Rogan and has all these Comedy Central specials told a similar joke to mine. Wow, that's pretty cool. I remember that happened once before too, with John Mulaney. I told a joke about how Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, and I used to watch it all the time as a kid growing up. But I never realized how weird it was that a disgraced scientist, old man who's 75 years old, Doc Brown, is just hanging out, casually friends with like a 15-year-old high school kid who skateboards. And they conduct wacky science experiments, which is the basis for Rick and Morty. So obviously, I wasn't the only person that thought that was a hilarious premise. Justin Roiland thought it was. But I remember I did a joke like that on stage, and I, shaped it into a joke form. And then someone came up to me after and said, "Hey, I saw John Mulaney at UCB a couple nights ago, and he's got a joke just like that." And I'm like, ah, shit. Well, he's John Mulaney. He's probably gonna use that in his act and stuff, so I can't keep doing it. So I just, have to think of other stuff. There were so many funny comedians too during that time I was doing comedy. Like, what was it, 2013, 2012, 2013 to about 2016. It was just like it was so fun. It was such a fun scene. There were a lot of shitty aspects as well, but for the most part, I remember there's a lot of, I remember being around a lot of comedians who were like 5, 6, 7 years ahead of me, and they were doing a lot of club spots, and I was doing check spots. And I remember like hilarious situations would happen, which would be like nightmares for them, because they're trying to get spots in so they could get to, do a Conan, or they could, submit a packet for television, whatever the fuck they were doing. But they're like really taking it seriously as a job. And for me, it was just super exciting to be there and to be like, oh, sweet, I'm on a show with these awesome comedians. And there's like, there's some crazy shit going down with the crowd or the wait staff or the, whatever the circumstances were. There's like a hole in the roof and people are falling through or something. But it was fun. I remember just being like, oh wow, this is exciting. And then they, obviously it would be kind of shitty to them. Most comedians I met weren't like happy-go-lucky type people. They were definitely interesting people, funny as hell people, but a lot of them, they're not like these super exuberant, joyful, jovial people. That's more you would probably pursue being a clown or something if that was if you were just constantly like, I'm just the happiest person alive. Isn't life great? I am just so happy. Yeah. You'd probably be at the circus. But yeah, a lot of comedians just Mark Norman is a good example, actually. Mark Norman is a good example of a really like I get the feeling from him that I got from so many other comedians that I hung out with that he's friends with and that I had the privilege to be around and that I sort of considered myself within a similar kind of like constitution, which is that they have to do it. These are insane people. These people are Tim Dillon, Mark Norman, Joe List, Louis J. Gomez. These people are insane. Another hilarious dude is Nick Mullen as well. I didn't really get to hang out with him or perform with him, but he's I consider him to be like one of the funniest people. But there's something in the mind that needs to express itself in a particular kind of way. And it's really difficult to describe what that is. But I'm going to try a little bit. Because I believe that I believe that comedy is sacred and important. And comedy is a part of healing, right? They say laughter is the best medicine. Where did that come from? So, it's most cliche things are true, right? I would say all of them are. But I'm going to talk about why comedy is important, why it's significant, why I take humor seriously, among other things. And I will also mention, because I think I cut myself off before, about the difficulty I had doing the comedy I was doing, which was a lot of like dick fart drug jokes, party jokes, and stuff like that. Transitioning to like what I was actually really obsessed about at the time. I was going home every night watching Alan Watts talks, listening to Terrence McKenna lectures, reading Joseph Campbell and Robert Anton Wilson, listening to a lot of Ram Dass lectures, like meditating, doing breath. Like I was really getting interested in psychedelics and like sitting with myself, 5 dried grams in silent darkness, as McKenna said. So I was really journeying in that direction. I was opening up my mind. I was exploring. I was reading. I was researching. I was experimenting. But I couldn't seem to sort of like bring those jokes on stage. Now that I think about it, it might have been a detriment to me that I got those check spots so early, because I wound up trying to tailor my jokes to make that crowd laugh, that club crowd of like angry people who are getting their checks but enjoyed a good show of funny comedians at a club in Times Square. So I was like tailoring my act more towards that. And I probably would have had more room to explore and get weird and tell more of the jokes that I wanted to tell and figure out how to do that had I just stayed more in the open mic, lower level bar room show realm for a longer period of time. Because I found it really difficult. I was telling these jokes on stage, but I didn't really care about that. Like I didn't want to talk about that anymore. I wanted to figure out a way. And Dave Smith, my former partner in crime at Part of the Problem podcast, comedian, I would watch him go up on stage and tell jokes about wars, financial collapse, like economic collapse, like all this stuff, like political and economic humor. So he's got a special called Libertas. I remember when he released it, I went to the taping. I remember sitting next to Sal Vulcano from Impractical Jokers. Those guys are hilarious. It seems when I first saw the show, I thought it was kind of cheesy and corny, but it's really fun and funny. And these guys are like best friends. They're having the time of their lives. Like what a dream to just prank each other and people and be able to do that. True TV and Practical Jokers. But Dave Smith's stand-up special, Libertas, it's brilliant, man. Like it's brilliant. You know, like Dave is not really like a gut busting laughter type of comedian. He's a really smart guy with a keen eye for observations, analogies, metaphors, for understanding things and then making those things understandable to everybody else. Like that is his strength. He's like a digestive and like a distiller. And he has, you know, he's humorous. I would say he's humorous. He's funny. But not like gut busting laughter kind of funny. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's a smart guy. The thing is, his mind, the way his mind works, it still works in the comedian sense. Even though he's not using it all for gut busting laughter, he's using it for a lot of like things that he's making waves with in the political arena and with his podcast and everything. So that's the keen observation that there's like some kind of thing, there's some kind of way that I think you're just born with, and born into, shaped by, but there's some kind of like natural thing where the mind, a comedian's mind, and you don't necessarily have to be a comedian to have this kind of mind, is what I'm saying. There's other people like Robert Anton Wilson, Alan Watts, like they're both very humorous people because they're very smart. I think you have to be smart to be really funny. And there's just something about the way that you see the world, the way that you perceive reality that's different than everybody else. And that is a sacred role. You know, Alan Watts used to call himself a stand-up philosopher. But it is a sacred role. The sacred role of the fool, of the court jester. You know, the court jester was there to keep the king humble because the court jester was allowed to say things to the king that nobody else could say. The Joker, right? The Joker is wild. And it dates back to the archetype of the trickster. And the trickster, a lot of people, there's a common misconception that the trickster is just kind of just a funny person or a funny thing. But what it really means to be a trickster is to be a disruptor. To have fun disrupting, to make others realize the thing that you're disrupting actually isn't really that important anyway, in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's important for us to play within the borders and boundaries of the finite game, but it's also not that fun if we don't push along those borders and boundaries. Also, it doesn't mean anything if there's only a finite game. The sacred fool, the comedian, the trickster reminds us that we're playing an infinite game. That the point of this game is to just keep the game going. Just keep having fun, keep breathing, keep loving, keep laughing, keep living. And that they shit on all the finite things every now and then to remind everybody, hey, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what practice you're engaged with, what mantra, what technique, what school, whatever you're doing, none of it fucking matters. This entire thing is a fabrication. This entire thing is a creation. We've created it. We've harnessed it, we've channeled it, we've imbued it, we've augmented it, altered it, transmuted it, but we've created it. And the trickster comes along and says, oh, cool, you take all this stuff so seriously, you're really attached to all these things, you think you're so special because you created all this stuff. Here I go, I'm going to shit on everything here, I'm going to disrupt everything, I'm going to destroy everything, because we need the process of renewal. We need to be taken down a peg. We need to be humbled before the great mystery. And that is something that the trickster lives with. The trickster understands the great mystery. It understands the paradoxical nature of being. And so the trickster comes along to refresh and renew. Because without the refreshing and the renewal, if you don't have somebody, Alan Watts used to say that, Alan Watts says this in one of his talks, I forget. He says, a society that does not let the outsider in is one that's insane. And that we're living in an insane society, and societies that live in accordance to that rule of accepting the outsider as somebody who is of, or he's I guess of the tribe, of the society, of the community, but not in it. Or maybe is it in it, not of it? I forget. It's one of those things. But the point that he makes is that a sane society has allowed for room and space and acceptance of the man on the hill who lives just outside of the town, who can come to the town every once in a while and shed new light on things because he sees things in a different way, because he's not living in it. He's not swimming in the water. So he can see the water. He can see that it's water, right? Like the David Foster Wallace little parable of the fish, I guess, where the two young fish swim by an older fish. And the older fish says, "Hey, boys, how's the water today?" And then they swim past a little bit, and one of the younger fishes looks at the other younger fish and says, "What the hell is water?" They're young. They don't know. This is all they've known is this world. They don't know that there's anything outside of it. Excuse me. So a sane society, just like a well-functioning tribe, has usually like the village elders, the shaman, the medicine people that are part of the tribe, part of the society, but they run according to their own programming. They're not as tucked in and proper. They're not expected to be at all the formal activities and events and arrangements. They're sort of wild and sort of unpredictable, but they possess something very valuable. They care about the place and their people, and the people also in turn care about them. They let them exist how they want to exist and do what they want to do and provide space for that, because they value the information that the outsiders can come in with an outside eye, with a child's like mind. So it's, it's in one way of like looking at things from a new perspective, not being tied down to the daily dramas of living within the finite structures and the rules and regulations and everything. So it's a tremendously important role. It's a tremendously important act of service. And when we don't have that, we have societies that go insane, that live in a way that isn't in accordance with the human body, with nature, with the human spirit, with the soul, that we try and fit ourselves into this sort of mechanistic world that we're building, that we've built. But we need those outsiders to come in and say, "Hey, you guys might not be seeing this, but I'm seeing this." And if they could do it in a funny way, great. I mean, the Joker, right? The Dark Knight. The Joker tries to make Batman realize, like, hey, this is all bullshit. But he goes about it in a he breaks he shatters the line, and he crosses the line, which is he hurts people. So all this is well and good as long as you're not hurting people. You're not infringing upon their spaces and their rights and their freedoms, and you're not, causing them any damage or destruction or injury. Then, yeah, have fun. We're here to have fun. That's why we're here. And a lot of us feel, myself included, that we don't really have our societies aren't organized in that way. Everything's very serious, regimented, and like bills and taxes and contracts and work and productivity. It's like, yeah, like, sure, some of this stuff is important, but I think the lesson here and what the trickster, the comedian, the sacred fool, the jester, the joker can do is help relieve us of the tension that we feel that we need to comply with this regimented, rigid, ordered structure that we all know doesn't feel good. It's like not normal to have, to be like worried and anxious and you can't sleep and diseases and depression and like all this stuff. I mean, we know that. And that's why a lot of people are venturing into the space of healing and helping people in alternative ways that are now becoming more mainstream, like psychedelics. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my little intro piece, I guess. I wasn't really planning on talking about any of that stuff. It just kind of came up. But yeah, I think that it's important to cover it. It's kind of boring, really, I think, a little bit in some way to talk about it because there's an intangible like mystique with humor, with comedy, with it's when the more that you talk about it, you don't want to be thinking about it like in a formulaic way or any of these kinds of ways. You just want to be experiencing it and expressing it. And comedy is all about timing, right? I think that like that's the other thing about comedians is that they're not trying to be funny all the time because they know that that's just ridiculous. Most of them just are funny naturally, but they're also just serious, regular human, not like serious, but they're regular human beings. And if there's an opportunity where there's not the timing isn't there to like be funny or make something funny, then it's just not that they're not going to force it. Because if you force it, then you bomb because you tried to push something forward into time that wasn't ready to be at that place in time. So timing, the timing of everything. So everybody has that natural ability, but it's also a perception. It's just when we get out of our heads all the stories that we've accumulated through over the years about who we are or what kind of person we are or like what other people think of us or where we're going to live and what we're going to do and what we're going to have and what we're going to be and where we're going to go and just all the built up stuff and the trauma and the somatic trauma, the body based like points of energy and stuckness that manifest in physical pain and dis-ease. The person whose mind works like a comedian, like a sacred fool, like a trickster, joker type jester, I'm just gonna name them all every time I bring it up. That'll be concise. They know how to sort of like break reality and essentially be whatever's happening in our journeys in our experiences under say 5 dried grams of mushrooms or DMT or wherever we're going, whatever we're engaging with. There's often an element of like playfulness and jester, joker, clown. Like there's this silly like, hey, you think it looks like this? Well, what if we flip it on its head and it's like this? Now let's break it up into a million pieces, into a million fucking mandala fractals that are just going on infinitely, spinning with an array of colors and like leprechauns jumping from one to the other in an infinite Alex Gray painting. Like it's ridiculous. What are they? What are they doing? They're saying, look at the fabric of reality. Look at how we can manipulate it at will. Look at this. Look at what we can do. Isn't it crazy? Isn't this fun? You can do that too. But we have to do it here. We have to work together. Could you imagine what a trip would be like if like you broke through and the entities weren't working together? They were like, oh, fucking, there's another guy here. Oh, it's your turn to go greet him. I'm on double duty. I worked last night. Oh, you have to greet. Like, man, it sucks working at DMT Corp. There's a harmony. There's a unity. There's an organized chaos. That's exactly it, is that the polarity, the paradox, the organized chaos, the creative destruction, the yin yang, the push-pull, the resistance, the will, they all feed each other. And that is possible to do in this dimension. And people who are able to do that are able to break reality and say, hey, don't look at things this way. Just entertain and indulge my perspective for a little bit. And if it makes you laugh, great. That means that you went somewhere. When you're laughing, remember the last time that you were just dying laughing, that you just couldn't breathe because you were laughing so much, because your stomach hurt, because you were laughing so much, you're losing you're out of your mind. Where did you go? What happened? Well, you're probably not thinking anything. You're not. No one is dying laughing, going, "Oh my God, that's so funny! I still have to prepare my taxes. Oh my God, that's great! Oh my God." No, you are gone. You're somewhere else. You're in a place where time and space just don't exist. Purely in the moment. Purely in the moment. And that's that reminder. That's the reminder of the infinite. That's the infinite. That's eternity right there in that moment, right now, right here. Does it feel like I'm yelling at you guys? I'm sorry. Sometimes I just get passionate about what I'm talking about. And I have this voice. I've been cloaked in a meat suit of a Italian American New Yorker who now lives in Colorado. Y'all. Colorado, y'all. It's great here. I love it. I love it. One day you can, be frolicking around the park, eating empanadas, watching the birds sing. Next day, 2 feet of snow. It's great. I like the change of seasons. It's good. Speaking of changes, I've been trying to sort of implement some stuff and in my life and in a sort of more business way, which even just saying that, like I'm going to edit that out. That's just ridiculous. I can't see. This is my biggest problem. All the stuff that I was talking to you guys about the Sacred Fool, the comedian, the Joker, the Jester. It's very difficult for me to not be that. It's just, I'm not saying I'm the greatest of all, the best, of course, nothing like that. But I relate to that way of being. I can't help see the world in a particular way through a particular lens. And I can't help but just think crazy or quote unquote crazy thoughts 24/7, 365. It's just the nature of things for me. It's just my nature. I was at a party recently and someone was like, wait, you could just like make stuff up like on the spot, like instantly. I was like, yeah, of course. Why, you can't? They were like, no. I was like, well, I just do it right now. I'll just tell you everything that's going through my mind. I'm like, all right now I'm just picturing kicking a baby across the yard and just over the fence. Now I'm thinking about taking some tacos and just rubbing them on my face. Now I'm thinking about smashing that light that's over there across the room. I don't know. Why am I deciding I want to break things? Maybe I'll just do an Irish jig and get on the counter and start dancing. I just like went on and on and on. And that's just the way that my mind works. And so that's all I'm saying is that I relate to this perspective. So for the things that I'm engaged with now in my life, it's a little weird to be positioning myself as like a professional. It's like we need better language. Look, I'm just a guy that has been having a really wild experience on Earth. And I can help some people. And that makes me feel good. I feel really, really good when I make people laugh. I feel really, really good when other people make me laugh. I feel really, really good when I get to jam on a djembe and a drum circle. I feel really, really good when I go to an ecstatic dance. I feel really good when I'm at an awesome show and copious amounts of psychedelics. I feel really good when I'm sitting in ceremony. I feel really good when I'm holding space. I feel really good when I'm doing a lot of things that involve community, participation, service, fun, lightness, healing. I feel really good in those spaces. And I've been doing it for a while now. And also the fact that I've been doing a podcast and I've worked as a consultant and I've been a social media marketing manager and I've been in the film industry for a little bit, like wrote some screenplays, made a short film. I don't know. I was like almost a professional Texas Hold'em poker player. Well, not really. I had a pretty bad sports gambling problem during that time. But I've done a lot of shit. And I've seen a lot. And by all means, I am not saying this to say that I'm like qualified for anything or anything like that. I just can't help but take notice when I share some of my facilitation, when I'm in circles, when I'm in groups, when I'm doing men's work, when I'm doing journeys, ceremonies, plant work, when people want to see me for like a one-on-one thing, I can't help but like show up and just be there and help. And the fact that it feels good and the fact that I've gotten good feedback from it, it seems kind of foolish to stray, like to not accept that really, you know? And for the longest time, that sort of like comedian aspect, because I did identify with being a stand-up comedian. I identified with being a stand-up comedian and a podcaster for a while. And so there was like this, just natural, cynical, judgmental, shit on it part of me that was just like, what are you kidding me? Like, what am I, I'm gonna do coaching. I'm gonna call myself a coach. Just looking at the entire, just that's the nature of my way of being, is to the nature of my being is to aggressively criticize something. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be the most miraculous thing in the world. My first instinct is to aggressively criticize it. Then I sort of go through a long process. Then I try and look at it from like all different, like I probably aggressively criticize, make fun, and shit on in a humorous way for a solid chunk of time. I'll be like, oh yeah, cool. Like, yeah, oh, microdosing coach. Oh, what? Oh, so you could. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a microdosing coach, and I help my team perform better, so we can crush those spreadsheets at work. And I'm well adjusted to my day because of psychedelics, so I could function better for my job at Amazon. And I mean, like, I get it. People that are probably tapped in this way aren't really working at places like that, but maybe some of them are. Whatever. The point is that I would just shit on things like that for a long time, make fun of them, criticize them, have like harsh opinions about it, be open about it, public about it. And then there's like another phase that comes, which is like, well, I guess this is a good entry point for people who aren't familiar in this world. I guess this is like a Trojan horse, foot in the door. I guess this is a good way for people to to like make this more acceptable. Yada yada yada. You see where I'm going? So there's like the acceptance phase and the silver lining phase. Like, oh, I'm sure there's good in this. And usually I feel like that's where it stops. And then every once in a while, it's like, oh no, like maybe I can, you know, help out in this area. I have the experience, I have the knowledge in some capacity and the wisdom to share with that came through my experiences. Um, yeah, what let me see if maybe there's a way that I can help. Now, how can I help you? Because I care a lot, right? Like, that's my cynical nature is like, all right, what's in it for this person? What are they trying to do here? What value are they really adding? What are you really getting? What's their scheme? What's their fucking, scam? What is this fucking hack trying to milk out of people? Because obviously that shit is rampant as well. The narcissism and the ego run wild into like the person that drinks ayahuasca once and goes, I'm a shaman, and lays with crystals on their forehead and all that stuff. Of course that happens. That happens everywhere you go. Every aspect of society, wherever people are getting together, there's always going to be fakers, charlatans, hacks, con artists, hustlers, people in it for the wrong reasons, that kind of stuff. But I'm like thinking like, okay, well, if there's a lot of that going on, then isn't it like part of my responsibility then to enter into the space as somebody who's actually like, who cares? Like it, I, I probably have said this before, and I know a lot of people have said this too, but it's like the person that like doesn't want to be president is the one that should. Because it's like, look, I shouldn't be I don't want to lead. I shouldn't be responsible here. Like, there's other people more qualified, that kind of stuff. It harkens back to the man who says that he knows nothing is truly the wisest man kind of thing, which is also like a fucking trap that you can get into because you're like, hey man, I just don't know anything, because and by not knowing anything, that means I'm the wisest, and that's coming from ego and everything. But like truly, it's like, how do we really, truly, sincerely say these things without winding up in camp and hack and ego and pomp and all this, grandstanding and ego inflation and stuff? It's like, look, at the end of the day, to bring it down to its bare bones, helping people feels good. It does. Helping other people feels good. And if you could help other people and then have fun with those people, well, that's great, because now we're at a party, and that's what this existence should be, a fucking party. And yeah, so I am going to start seeing people for one-on-one coaching sessions, and maybe I'll have a coaching session with my coach to say, hey, we need some new language around this. What can I call myself that doesn't sound so it doesn't make me feel like, I don't know, that I'm like blandifying myself, that I'm like, just whatever. I just don't like it, okay? But I'm going to start seeing people for one-on-one sessions, and the first people that I'm going to start seeing is everybody who is a Patreon member at the $5 tier and up. So everybody who's $5 tier Patreon member and up um, will have the opportunity to, if they want, to schedule a one-on-one session with me. And the one-on-one session could be one of two things. I guess we'll call them heart and mind. A heart session is like we're dropping in, we're gonna drop into the feelings here. Like we're gonna drop into like what's going on in your life. Where do you feel like there is conflict? Where do you feel like there's things that are out of alignment, things that don't serve you, things that you're holding on that you can let go of, old identities, um, traumas, trips that need integration, um, pain, disease, anxiety, depression, whatever is going on with you, if there's something that you're not feeling good about and that you need some processing, that's going to be a heart session or a heart jam. And in my years of holding space and sitting in ceremony, holding ceremonies, facilitating, and now within the last year with the men's group work that I'm doing, the masculine alchemy with Sacred Sons. I just completed their leadership training program. So Sacred Sons and Tribe of Brothers, which is Bill Burns and myself, our organization here in Denver. We hold weekly councils, day-long events, retreats, journeys, and it's been really fulfilling and really rewarding. And I've grown a lot in the process. And so like it's feeding me and nourishing me and helping me grow, and that makes me really excited. And there's like parts of me that get turned on, that get switched on, parts of me that get turned on. Yeah, work with me and we'll get to making me turned on. That's what the goal is. No, it's it's switched on parts of me that come alive in these situations where we hold counsel and we spiral and we circle and we talk about our emotions and our feelings and our pain and our trauma and our the voices in our head and the inner critic and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that lives inside of us that is not in alignment, that is in a conflict, that is out of sorts, that's making us out of sorts. So that's one type of session that I'll offer. And then another session that's out there is the Mind Jam. And the Mind Jam is just an opportunity for us to just jam on anything really. So we're not really going to be getting into like your emotional process, your spiritual journey, your healing work and your integration and stuff. But we're gonna be getting into just like thoughts and ideas, and if you get like I'm just a great person to bounce ideas off of, and have been that sort of person at a lot of companies that I worked for in the past, where I was like the sort of idea bouncer. Um, Creative director and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, if there's that's another part of the offering is like pick my brain. Let's just like let's talk about some far out shit, some concepts. Like I don't know if there's like a particular project that you're working on or like that you whatever that is, that's available too. Uh so yeah, you got the heart and mind right there, one-on-one sessions. So those will go out to everybody who's a Patreon member for the $5 tier and up. Then I also want to do some group stuff. And I'm thinking about doing like the mind jams that I was doing, which were pretty fun. But now I know why I haven't activated them again, because I want it to be a total comprehensive experience. Heart, mind, body, soul jam. Like again, we need better words for these things. So I don't know really what I'm going to call it as of now. I feel like it'll just be like psychedelic jam session. But that I'm going to do every Monday evening, maybe. or the day will change. I'm fucking sitting here just thinking of the day right now. I'm like, oh, what would be a good day? Uh, it'll be a day of the week, and it'll be, I don't know, maybe an hour or two, depending. We'll try out some stuff, but it'll be everybody that listens to the show that wants to join. Everybody who's a $5 Patreon member. I forgot what I labeled that tier, like astral love or something. I don't know, but like everybody who's a $5 tier and up will get access to that, and then everybody else that wants to join as like a one-off, there'll be like a ticket price or something. But yeah, we'll do it virtually, and yeah, probably like cap it at like maybe 30 people, so that so if you're not familiar, the idea basically is that we sort of like open process on shit, and we split up into groups, and then we like pitch our processing. And it's great because I keep it light as well, and it's an opportunity. It's sort of like an opportunity. I don't know what was I gonna say, like a think tank. It's almost like a think tank, but we're doing more than just thinking. We're thinking, we're feeling, we're observing, we're aware, and so it's kind of just like a meeting of the minds, and then we like break up into teams, and everybody gets to riff on something. Like one I did at CSU in Fort Collins was, um, it was like a lot about like the war on drugs. And so like we talked about that, we riffed on that, we jammed on that. And then I split everybody up into groups, and then they each had like a part that they talked about and discussed. And then we opened it up, and then we had like sort of like a jam session with that. And the reason why I called it a jam session is because we're using ideas, language, feelings, words, to play with each other, like a band would play. Like, hey, what do you think about this note? Or, oh, okay, that's a pretty cool riff he's got going on there. Let me see if I could kind of add to that. So we're sort of waxing philosophical, if you will. So that'll be happening as well. And I'll announce that when that happens. I'm off Instagram, like totally. I only check Instagram once a day around this time, actually, uh, to see if I have any DMs. And that's it. And it's been great. It's been absolutely great. It's been a long time coming, but I think that the final piece for this particular stage of my life is eliminating I have not even been aware of how distracted I actually was until I started to track it, and I started to notice, oh shit, I'm pulling my phone out right now. Why am I pulling my phone out if I'm engaged in another activity? There's no reason for me to be pulling my phone out right now. So I track that. I track that with Instagram. I tracked it with everything, and I decided to go completely like digital minimalism. I installed a lot of things on my computer and phone. I just really decluttered and set time blocks out. I started working in this method called the Pomodoro method, which is like intense, deep focus, no distractions, work on one task for an hour, and then take a break, and then go back and do it like for another hour. Like, I think I've been taking 10-minute breaks. But this has been super helpful. It's one of the things I really love about Douglas Rushkoff, his podcast Team Human, his book Team Human, uh, throwing rocks at the Google bus, program or be programmed. Like his main thesis message is like, we're Team Human. We have to serve humanity first and not serve the technological innovative world. We don't want to work for the machines. We want the machines to work for us. We want the machines to service us in a way that liberates us to live our best human existence. If we could use technology to facilitate the full total nourishment of the human soul, boom, that's a win. So I am very much on board with that. And I realized that I wasn't really doing that in my life because a lot of the reaching of the phone and the going on social media and the YouTube and all that stuff, there's two things there. There's one that is, it was a complete unconscious, automatic, conditioned habit. Like I would just reach into my pocket and I would take out my phone and I didn't even realize like where did I go and what did I even do until I was looking at my phone. It's like, oh wow, yeah, why am I doing that? So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the other aspect of the content that I was consuming a lot of was good, for lack of a better word, like stuff about Zen, Alan Watts, Joseph Campbell Foundation, Russell Brand, like this thing, that thing, like meditation stuff or things about psychedelics or socio-political things, philosophy, psychology. Like it was good information, I would say. But, you know, there's a difference between like reading a book or an article and passively consuming the kind of content that you would get in books and articles on, Instagram, YouTube, and other places like that. So I'm like, okay, well, and there was no regimentation. It was just all the time, anytime, all the time. There was no like, this is a time when I don't have my phone. This is a time when I don't go on social media. Like I didn't have any of that. So now I've implemented a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'd love to share more about that with you guys, but I think I'm going to keep this podcast under I was going to say under an hour, and I'm looking, it's 57 minutes. Maybe under an hour, we'll see what I have left to say. But anyway, I totally revamped everything in my life so that I could produce better work, that I could do better work, that I could really focus on the things that really matter and get rid of the distractions. So I'm really all in on this realm of masculine alchemy. It really feels like home for me. Feels good to look at a bunch of other men and call them brothers and really mean that. Like really mean like, yo, you're my dog, like you're my brother, you're my homie, like you're in the shit with me. Like it's kind of like signing up for like the military, but instead of going to war or instead of invading other people's lands and killing them because they have resources, uh, instead of doing that and bonding in that way, there's other ways to build bonds. Like the show, Band of Brothers was about these guys that really cared for each other that happened to be, in a platoon of army cadets or whatever in World War II. I mean, war is a horrendous thing. Horrendous. If we're smart, we can avoid it. If we're sane, we can avoid it. Or we could create alternatives. But being a part of Sacred Sons, being a part of the group that I've helped create here in Denver, there is a sense of bonding. Like we're going to spiritual warfare. We're going on a mission to retrieve shadows and activate archetypes and activate our gifts and our powers and like come into wholeness and truth and acceptance and lean on each other for cooperation with compassion and curiosity and calling each other in and up, not out and at. It's like, it's a totally different ball game when you're doing that. It's like, this is really special. This is a really special thing. And I've felt really, privileged, honored, grateful to be a part of it and to be pretty good at it, I guess, to offer something of value, really is what I'm saying here. It's so hard for me. It's so difficult for me to step into this role and be like, I offer something of value. I'm good at it, and I genuinely want to actually help people. Because well, I guess I kind of know why. It's kind of like, why does Fox News, or maybe Fox News not anymore, but let's just say like Fox News in its prime, like why was Fox News such like a big hit? It's because they were fucking sensational, and they used like they tapped into like psychology, and they were like, oh, if we use these bright colors and these graphics and these shiny things, and if we put the words on the screen and like captions as he's reading them, then it's going to be double reinforced in people's heads, and the music and the tones and the sets and the suits and the like it's a fucking production, and people had never really seen news being delivered like that before, so they're like, oh wow, that's great. But like some guy in his basement that's like, hey, I'm not the news, but like I happen to like do a lot of research and like check in on things that like the mainstream corporate press is saying. And they're not really quite accurate on a lot of things, guys. And I want to share that with you guys. It's like it's a little bit harder for that guy to like have the credibility and the recognition. There's something psychologically in our brain where we see like the nice branded website and the tritone color brand logo and the gradient and like the perfect pictures on Instagram and the hair and the outfits and like the accoutrement, all the the accessories, and everything looks the part. It all looks, oh yeah, that looks, because we feel like safe and trusted. That's why in the what was it, the Milgram experiments, where the obedience to authority, it's the guy was wearing a white lab coat and they just obeyed him because he's the authority, right? That's why in DC all the buildings are built the way they are. Any city that has government buildings, they're always like these grand sort of Greek column styled white big built, like there's a certain kind of aesthetic that elicits like, oh well, this must be important, um and it's a lot harder to just I remember actually my Dave Smith used to say this. He'd be like, there's something about religion where they have to get the choir and the painted glass and the cathedral and the whole thing and the organs and the standing, the sitting, the kneeling, the whole ritual and the songs and the hymns and like all the way it looks and the smells. He's like, it would be a lot more difficult if you just like had a guy in like a room and like a gymnasium with a couple of like fold out chairs, and it was like, hey, just like let's just meet here and we'll just pray and talk about God. So uh it's hard for me to like embrace sort of like a dazzly sort of aspect that catches people's attention about myself. I know how to do it for other people because it's not me. But if I'm promoting myself as like a coach or someone who runs men's groups, facilitation work, holds space, and that kind of stuff, um, yeah, it's difficult for me to sort of like package something there. Like even the thought of it is like, ugh, like I don't even want to think about it that way. I just want to be a guy that helps people. And it would be, I would fucking do it for free. Like, of course I would do it for free. But then I would have to live with you then. Like I'd have to bounce around to different clients' homes because I'd be homeless. I wouldn't be able to pay for anything. So that was another huge hang up, is like the money story, right? Like being a really big believer in Charles Eisenstein's gift economy that he talks about in Sacred Economics, and just realizing like, yeah, like being a part of a small tribe and just offering your gifts is just a way to be. And you didn't have to worry about anything because the tribe takes care of you because they know that you're just a good person who has something to offer. And everybody is a good person that has something to offer, but those things that they have to offer just aren't recognized or valued in our society. Like it's not really valued if you're like a good cook that cooks every once in a while. It's like, okay, well, are you making money from it? Are you a chef? Like, do you work in a restaurant? No, I'm a good cook, and I like to cook, and I would love to share my cooking with people. It's like there's no real, so the whole idea of money is just insane to me. But when we live in the world that we live in, it's a necessity. There's no way out of it. The financial machine is in charge. Was it Mayer Rothschild that said, "I care not about a country's army. Give me access to their currency, and we will have them," or something like that. Like, I mean, it's true. There's no escaping the financial juggernaut that has us all tied down. But maybe we could figure out a way out of it. I think we can if we work together. And a lot of people will say crypto and this and that. And like, yeah, maybe something that we have never thought of, right? Like we have no idea. The unknown unknown. But anyway, this is my way of bringing you a podcast that is like also announcing new services that I'm offering. And sincerely, really, I discuss this in openness and transparency and vulnerability because this is who I am. I can't. Anything else would be, um what would it be? It just, I guess it wouldn't feel good to really boil it down to bare simple terms. Like it doesn't feel good to not fully be me. So I tend to show up fully me all the time. And that's just the only way that I can reconcile existence, is to to live it truly as me. And I tell you, getting off of social media and news and all kinds of other stuff out there has also released me from like an unconscious comparison judgment thing going on deep down. I feel so much more liberated in my own self now, which is great because there's nothing better than being all the infinitesimally unique ways that is you. Like it's just, there's so many specific things about each of us that give life to that true sense of authenticity and uniqueness. Oh wow, that's Brian. Whoa, that is totally Kelly. That is so Kelly. That is so Brian. That is so Dave. That is so Jenna. Oh my God. Like these people are so themselves. And, you know, there's we got to open canvas here, and everybody's got a unique color. We can all contribute to this masterpiece we call life, this reality. It's fantastic. And there's a lot of unwinding of the layers that we have to go through in this day and age, is a lot to unravel to yourself, because of the world we live in, the conditions, and how hard it is to escape the fear paradigm, the attention paradigm, the economy of like always connected and plugged in. And it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, it's insane. Every once in a while some crazy shit happens. and we're like, oh fuck, that was a massive disaster. Well, I guess that's just gonna like change the course of civilization. But what I'm saying is that we can help maybe we can help play some awesome music on the Titanic as it sinks, you know. Or maybe we can get into a boat and big boat and get a bunch of people in and charter a new course. That's possible too. I think it's all possible. What else do I want to announce? I'm trying to think. Coaching, one-on-one sessions, free for Patreon members, $5 tier and up. One complimentary 1 hour session with me, either a heart jam or a mind jam, your choice. And I got an awesome group journey coming up. We are going to launch a masculine alchemy journey, an embodied, activated expression through the course of several weeks. We're still ironing it out. Should be about an 11-week journey, virtual and in person. In the middle, though, there will be an in-person retreat experience, and I'm really, really excited for this. It's gonna be epic and a good opportunity. So, good opportunity for healing, for bonding, for community, and for activating your gifts. And that will be coming up soon. I'll announce that. But anyway, since I'm not on social media anymore, I the best way to, I guess, find out about things would be for me to email you. Now, I hate email. I can't tell. I hate email so much. I just I I don't even I can't even tell you how much I hate it. I think it sucks. I just had to I just you know I just give my email out and stuff, and I get all kinds of things because I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't use email. I'm not on email all day. Never have been. Never will be. So, but anyway, as I started to declutter and digitally minimize, I realized that maybe I would feel better if I deleted all these old emails that are just sitting in my inbox. So I did. I think I had like 20,000 emails across like 4 accounts or something. But I got rid of it all and kept all the current things. And but anyway, I have an email list. I have a Substack newsletter, but I don't do anything with it. If you've listened to this show, longtime listeners of the show know. Do I send emails? No, I don't, because I fucking hate people that send emails. Like, I like an email every once in a while, like Eric Davis or Charles Eisenstein. Every once in a while, you get an email like, hey, new essay, check it out. Great. I really can't stand these people that you give them your email address and they're like, hey, thanks for being on the email list. And then the second email is like, hey, check this new podcast out. And then like a day later, it's like, check out this new blog article. And then a day later, like, hey, we got a new YouTube video. And then it's like another email like, hey, have you thought about attending this course or whatever the fuck? It's just way too many emails. So since I'm off social media and everything, I would say the best way for us to stay in contact would be through email. And I'm not really going to email you unless there's something that I am going to tell you about something. And usually that happens maybe like twice a month. So, yeah, maybe like twice a month. And yeah, I think that there's a link to my Substack in Linktree. I guess you could sign up there. You could shoot me an email on my website on the contact form. Yeah, this is how little I give a shit about email. I'm like, I don't have a. People have like pop up things like sign up for my thing for my email. Like, I fucking hate email. But it's just, I guess that'd be a good way to like stay up to date about things that I'm offering and things that are going on. Having said that, if you go to my website, mikebrank.com, there's a link there for coaching and men's work as well. By the way, coaching is open for everybody. And yeah, it's for y'all. So there's that. And then the men's group experiences are something separate. Also, can be people in the group experiences can do one-on-one coaching, and I think that's something that we're going to offer. Is that if you sign up for the 11-week journey that we're creating, that part of that package will be one-on-one sessions with myself or Bill. So that is all I have for now. Thank you for listening to me talk, and I appreciate you listening. I'm also interested in hearing you talk. So hit me up, contact me, mycadelicpod@gmail.com. I'm probably going to be switching over to a Proton email. I have it already. I just haven't been promoting it because I need to get in the habit of checking it. I don't have any notifications turned on. So that's another thing. Yeah, if you hit me up, and for whatever reason, if you do hit me up on like Instagram DMs or wherever you hit me up, just just know that I'm not on there, so it takes me a little bit to get back. But if you hit me up on email, I should get back to you pretty quickly, um, and do that. And if you just schedule something on Calendly, on my website or in my link tree, then we'll set up a sesh. I'll send you a Zoom, and we'll rap, we'll freestyle rap together for an hour. All right, I am a professional person. You are also professional people. And we are living a very serious existence, and don't you forget it. All right, until next time. Bye.